So welcome everyone to the Co-Creators Convergence Thursday night Creator Convos. I'm Noelle Marshall, and together with my beloved.
Hi, I'm Bob Warner. Welcome everyone.
And we call ourselves Light Partners. And the universe also made us the mom and pop of a wonderful group called the Co-Creators Convergence. And so we're excited for everyone to be here tonight. And you're probably going, Co-Creators Convergence, what the heck does that mean? So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Co-Creators Convergence. I'm going to show a very short video. And so just hold on here. And right now, we also want to bring us into the moment now. We have a very special gift that was given to us by a Grammy Award-winning artist, Gary Malkin. It's called Transformance. And we're going to play a Transformance just to bring us into this present moment before we introduce our guests for this conversation, this wonderful conversation tonight.
You are invited to experience unity. It's time to put aside the differences that divide us. And embrace the beauty of each one of us being different, being unique, being ourselves. In the essence of who we truly are. A beautiful array of human beings across the planet. So many different ways of being human. So let us get to know each other. Let's spend time with each other. Let's learn from each other. And let's open our hearts to each other. And let's find the unity that exists right in the middle of the richness of our diversity. We are human. We are unique. We are one.
I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it brought you into
Beautiful.
a beautiful moment. And let me just explain a little bit about that. That is called a transformance, done by this wonderful Gary Malkin and Sarah McCrum. Gary was in LA, Sarah was in New Zealand, and they did that. It was a spontaneous creation. That was not rehearsed, that was not studio. And then another friend of theirs added the visuals at the end. So I just always find that a very beautiful way to bring us into unity as we start some wonderful conversation tonight. So I'm going to just start by introducing our dear friend. She's gotten to be just such a great CCCer, Dr. Pamela Gerali. She's been with us multiple times. And one of the things that she blessed Bob and I with recently is a copy of one of her books called Higher T, The Essence of Joy. And the reason I wanted to show this, although she has another book out too, I'll get to that shortly, is that it has an endorsement by our beloved Barbara Marx Hubbard. So I just want to read that. Barbara says, a remarkably coherent and inspired description of self-transformation. It springs from authentic experience and serves as a reliable and loving guide in our developmental path towards the next stage of our evolution. So Pamela does also spiritual blueprint work. And we had her on a couple weeks ago, and she just launched a new book called The Dance of Ego and Essence.
I just happen to have it here.
All right. I don't have that one yet. So
Not yet. I've ordered copies to share with everybody, but yes, there it is. Is that beautiful?
It's beautiful. And I believe your husband took that picture. That's
He
on the
did.
cover.
We were in China,
Wow.
and he's quite a gifted artist too in photography.
Wonderful. Well, I know you have brought some very dear friends, Pamela, and I'm going to turn it over to you. And looking forward to this conversation. And, you know, everything about it, the couplehood, the nomadness, everything, because after spending 10 years as nomads ourselves, this is the first home bricks and mortars we've lived in for 10 or 11 years. So we traveled for 10 years in our RV, which is now parked in our side yard and is rented to traveling nurses. So anyway, really looking forward to this conversation. So welcome, Patricia and Dario and Pamela. I turn it over to you. Just with one before we do very quickly, if you have any comments or questions, the chat will be monitored the whole time. So put that in there. And then at a certain point, they will invite you into the conversation. And I release the reins to you, my beloved.
Thank you so much, Noelle and Bob. I am so excited to be here again this evening and to welcome and introduce dear friends, Patricia and Dario Campanelli. And Patricia and I have known each other ever since we both moved to Naples about the same time, 20 years ago or so. And Patricia is just a delight. She is an Edgewalker coach and facilitator, as well as having her own consulting business and encouraging and helping people to reinvent themselves from the inside out with the intent that they will become more effective leaders and bring spirit into the workplace as well as into their lives. And she recently, was it 10 years ago or something, hooked up with Dario Campanile, who is a gifted artist, a self-taught artist, and who is from Italy. And since my husband's last name ends with a vowel sound, I know all about that part of his background. And Dario is just an amazing artist who just won a major award this year, first place in the Spiritual Art Awards in Abstract. And so I think that's the picture behind you, is it not?
It is.
Great. Well, Patricia and Dario, I am just going to turn this over to you and let you share with us about your partnership together, how you support each other, how you have the courage to allow spirit to just lead you as nomads and to uplift others pursuing your divine purpose. We are so thrilled to have you with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela, for having us. It's wonderful to be here, and thank you all for taking the time and making the time to join us today. It's really a gift. And so the painting, it's interesting, because the painting behind us is called Gateway.
Gateway, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
What do you want to talk about?
well, it's interesting because when I met Dario, you've been from Rome, you've been a self-taught artist since you were young, and you did mainly realism. But what's interesting is how our meeting and how we're living also, in a sense, supported you in shifting the way you do your art, which I think is interesting, because before I met Dario, I asked for my divine complement. I asked for my spiritual partner. I didn't actually say a boyfriend or a soulmate or a husband. I wanted the type of relationship that would really support each of us, our evolutionary growth, the work we're meant to do in the world, where we could complement one another. And wouldn't you say that, like, when I met you, you were really wanting to kind of be more liberated in your creative expression as a self-taught artist, and that this gateway is one of the abstract contemporary work that you did, and it's been the journey, right, for you.
Yes. I've been exploring abstract for the last 10 years. In my background as an artist, it was realism for 35 years. So when abstract came in my life, everything shifted. And then meeting Patricia, it helped everything tie together, because she's an inspiration for me, and she has the freedom to travel, which I always wanted to find a partner that could travel with me. I wouldn't refuse to travel by myself. I've tried one or twice. I remember I went to Bali by myself. I was so miserable. I just, I have to share this with someone. Mm-hmm. But, I asked the same thing. I did ask the universe, please send me a partner that she can be free and inspire me, my work and everything. And it happened. It happened in a few months. Since I asked, a few months later, she pops in my life in Maui, which is an unusual situation, because she didn't live in Maui when we met.
I was actually over here on Kauai, and we have mutual friends, just how we met in Maui, that were getting married. And this was April 6, 2012. And we met at this wedding. It was a small wedding on the beach of mutual friends, about 35 people. And at the wedding, people thought we were a couple
already. Yeah. So it was.
What did they say to you? How long have you two known each other?
Yeah, people thought that we were together for a while. How long you been together? I said, you just met an hour and a half ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a good start. Let's put it this way.
Right. And then, to make a long story short, 2 months later, we moved in together. And then, we were on Maui together for a long time, and then got engaged in, was it 2015 or 2015 in Africa on safari, got engaged. We had a trip with my family in South Africa and Botswana, which is very special. And then we went back to Maui, because we kept going on and off of Maui, and we got married actually April 1st, 2017. On the same beach that we met, just to kind of give you where that's. So this coming April, we'll be together, married 5 years and together 10. So that's how long this lifetime's journey has been, right?
Yeah.
On our second date, you said to me, gosh, you're so familiar and so comfortable. I feel like we've done this before. So we have that, I think we have that soul connection.
Yeah, definitely. And there was definitely a reason, a purpose. And the purpose was to liberate us from many details and things of life that was too busy for us, and with knowing each other, give each other the power and the force to create a new life, which is basically traveling around the world and enjoying the planet as much as we can. It's been almost 10 years now,
Yeah.
So, right? And we haven't done yet. We're still in the journey.
But Dario had a beautiful home on Maui and another house that was a rental in California. And in the time that we met, he sold both houses, and you sold your house in Maui. It was like April 2016, thinking we, oh, we'll find a place eventually. And we never really landed anywhere. I guess, I know Marion and Glenn can kind of understand that. And Bob and Noel, you think you're going to land, and we keep moving about, but Spirit is supporting us in doing that. I mean, absolutely, since 2016.
And because of that, my art went to a niche higher level, I guess, because by traveling, I experienced new emotions and new vibration, new colors. And so I feel the gift that I been given to me is completely fulfilled by expressing myself, and the people's response are overwhelming, and give me the reason to keep going as much as I can.
And I think when I first met Dario, he had his house and his studio and his routine. And even though he wanted to travel, I used to say, let's just take off for the summer and go to Colorado, and let's go here and let's do that. And you were very, because you were used to having things a particular way. He said, but I need my studio, I need my home. And I remember saying to you, just, if you're willing to let go and you're willing to surrender to Spirit, let's see what happens. Remember when that happened?
Yes, of course. It was a jump in the unknown for me. And it was like going roller coasters. Oh my God, what I'm doing here, what's happening? But little by little, though, it's not making sense, because I felt more comfortable, and it taught me to be loose, to be not attached to the details of things and things that you own and you can't do without. So I let go. So I became minimalist.
Minimalist, right?
So thanks to FedEx and UPS, I won't be able to do that without them, because I ship my art supply ahead of time. So only we carry luggages, and the art supply is there waiting for me. And I ship my artwork, wherever we are around the world, to the 3 galleries that represent me. So far it's been working okay.
So, it's really about like living and walking on the edge. It's like leap of faith. It strengthens our surrender muscle, our faith in Spirit, allowing the universe to handle the details, which is really a universal law. And I've been part of a group called Edgewalkers for decades. Dr. Judy Neal wrote the book about Edgewalkers. It's about people and organization that take risks, break bridges, build bridges, and break new ground. And I completely resonated with that. That was before I had met Dario and became a certified Edgewalker facilitator and coach. And an Edgewalker, or Edgewalkers, are those, probably most of us on this call, that really live between the worlds, between the physical world, the material world, the financial world, but also the spiritual world, and being able to access other levels of consciousness in other realms, and to really bring heaven and earth together. And if you look at even Dario's painting behind us, you could see a little bit, or if you go on his website, or the work that I do as an evolutionary coach and an Edgewalker coach, we're really integrating and bringing together the different worlds of the spiritual, psycho-spiritual, and the physical, and really the different dimensions that are also so needed now, particularly on the planet. So even though our work is different, I would say we're both Edgewalkers, right? I mean, we definitely live and walk on the edge.
Definitely, yes. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's an adventure.
It is an adventure. And it's, we have a lot of gratitude and are just really blessed.
Yeah. And if you have any questions, we can answer.
Yeah, I mean, but anything else for you? I think that I've just seen your art. The more we do this, the more you let go, the more you tap into really other realms, even with your creative expression, and even with my coaching. So because we complement each other as spiritual partners, and we do move about and have kind of a large net of places and people that we connect with, I feel it expands our consciousness, right? It expands our awareness. It expands who we are and how we be and what we do in the world. And then we can bring that to our relationships to each other, but also into the work, our creative work in the world.
Yeah, without doubt. I mean, since I came on this planet, I realized that I came with a gift and I had to deliver. and I never stopped in 55 years of painting. It still goes on, and it makes sense every day, and every day it's scary because every time I study new work, I don't know what's going to happen. It's a white canvas, a bunch of colors, but I have faith, and faith helped me to guide me to finish the work and become somehow significant for people that sees it for some reason. Sometimes I'm wondering, where did this come from? You know, so I'm just execute. I'm an instrument that I was giving a tool for some reason. So what I need to do is deliver.
But you started painting as a small boy in Rome, right? So you grew up in Rome, Italy.
Yeah.
And you started painting when you were like, what? It's been many, many years,
Well,
like 14 or as a young
No,
boy?
when I was 4 years old, I remember vividly, I put my first pigment on paper with watercolor. I remember the yellow and the red. I was 4 years old. I don't know what I was doing, but that's the first time I experienced colors in front of me on a paper. But then the turning point at 14 years old, because I got a problem with health, I had to be in bed for several months. So my father bought me my first oil. I have no clue. I never touched oil before. And I did my first painting in bed. And it was an amazing painting. And so I remember I said to my parents, I mean, I've done this before. It was so easy in a way. And in a few years, that 14 to 19, I developed so much. I was showing it already in the gallery in Rome. I was a teenager, basically. I was selling my work already. It was and my love was because I'm from Italy, is doing realism. I want to be like the masters, you know, the super realism and details. That was my focus. And then the journey started at that point, and then went on and on and on. It's a long story, but I'm writing my memoir about it. One of these days, we'll see what happened. You have any questions?
Dario, I was hoping you'd tell us a little bit about how you met the Dalai Lama.
Oh, I was invited to be part of a show dedicated to him by a wonderful friend of mine, and what's her name?
Darlene Markovich.
Yeah,
It was in
Darlene
2005,
Yeah,
right? I
yeah.
think it was 2005.
Darlene
Mhm.
Markovich, she wanted to organize a group of artists that would volunteer to do a painting about the Dalai Lama. And we were the 12 artists chosen. And then that 12 became 88. Everybody wanted to do it. So the show became giant. But I was lucky that me and another artist, maybe 3 artists of the 88, were able to be invited by the Dalai Lama to his house in Dharamsala in India. So I flew from Maui in 2005, and I met the Dalai Lama with my cameras and my equipment and everything, because I need to take a picture of him, because I had an idea that I was going to do a portrait. And you can see that video on my YouTube and website, right, sweetie?
Yeah, there's Campanelli Fine Art is Dario's total portfolio. You'll see it there. And then CampanelliAbstract.com is all your current more liberation work that you're doing now. Exactly.
Yeah, so the Dalai Lama, it was an amazing experience meeting him for me, because first of all, I had a butterfly in my stomach. I was so scared. Me and him in his house, which, by the way, this house was very modest. I was expecting a mansion, the Dalai Lama's house. Are you kidding me? It was a very simple 3-bedroom house. I mean, I was shocked by that. But anyway, I still had a butterfly. But his sense of humor and humanity, and then humble. He said to me, "Why do you do a painting about me? How about Martin Luther King, the Indian Gandhi? Why don't want to do about him?" And I responded, which you can see this on the video, because I had my video camera in my lap and I videotaped the whole thing. And I said to him, "But you're here with us now. We need to celebrate you now." That's my answer was something like that. He laughed. You know, it was great. And the painting was sold by the gallery that represent me, Lana Gallery, and to one of the clients. And the receipt of that, the money from that painting, all the other artwork will be donated totally 100% to the Dalai Lama Foundation, because most people don't know this, but the Dharamsala, it's a micro Tibet. A lot of refugees are still crossing the Himalaya mountain to escape China. So the Dalai Lama received them every day, hundreds every day, and need to build school, hospital, to help them a home for these people. So basically, he needs every single penny he can get. That's why we see the Dalai Lama speaking around the world, because he gets paid for that. But that every money he makes, it goes to this village, the Dharmasala, which is called Dharmasala. Yeah, it's a fantastic experience for me.
Okay, I just wanted to unmute and also say how much we are enjoying just seeing your picture in the background. I'm very pleased to have a book, one of his Dario's books of his abstract art, and it is so beautiful. But I can see how you switched from your realism into the abstract, and certainly you mentioned about how that evolved to a certain degree. Can you explain that just a little bit more about how you went from realism and what happened with you maybe on a spiritual level as that was happening?
Oh, very simple. First of all, I started painting abstract 10 years ago, but actually I started experimenting in the 70s. When I came to this country in America from Italy, I remember playing with colors. Beside my realism, I was doing experimentation, doing abstract. Couldn't sell them, couldn't be accepted. I was not ready yet, I guess. So over the years, every few years, I would try again and again, and I wasn't ready till 10 years ago. And what I learned is that the realism was an amazing school for me, and it's academic, and it taught me many techniques, and it taught me to be disciplined and methodic and precise. But when I realized the gift that I have when I do abstract is because I can express myself completely 100% from my soul into the canvas. I cannot do that with realism. Realism, it's academic. It's a plan A, B, C, and D, and you execute each cycle, and then this amazing painting comes alive like a photograph. But that's a process. In an abstract, I don't have all that. I have a white canvas, and then I have color that I can play with, and that's all I have. So it's really scary, and it's difficult. Most people think, oh, well, I can do abstract. I splash some paint in the canvas. I can do an abstract, but I cannot do realism. I have to tell you, abstract is harder and more difficult than realism, because if abstract, you can tell immediately when it's a paint is deep and profound, or when it's just a bunch of paint on the canvas. So by my experience of doing realism for so many years, it really taught me to create a new form of abstract. I call abstract, but it's not really abstract. It's the landscapes painted with the same color that I use for my realism. So basically, in my abstract, I see dimension, I see perspective, dark and light. Because the school that I had with my realism taught me to do this kind of abstract painting. That's why the viewer really responds to that. They didn't even know about it, but they don't see just a flat canvas with a bunch of paint. They see something deeper than that, but that comes from all the years that I've been working as an artist. So, I don't know if I answer your question.
Yes, it almost sounds like what we go through in our spiritual evolution when we're all in our heads, and then finally everything opens up in our heart and soul, and so that our whole being is expressed in whatever we do.
And Pamela, like, the co-creators convergence, I mean, I would say that, Dario co-creates with the divine, your higher yourself, spirit, but I even think our life, we really try and consciously remember this and intend this and focus on, but we co-create with, with the universe. Where do we go to next? What feels right? It helps us to make decisions sometimes. We learn as we move about or have to decide on a timing or flights, right? Or when we're nomadic, if things don't feel right and don't work out, we just know that there's another path or another plan or another way of being. So the life we live is very co-creative with just allowing sometimes the next door to be open. So it's a fine line between really trying not to figure it out but to allow it to be ask and ye shall receive, intend it, be open to get the guidance, and then see what shows up. And then of course you have to take action and you act. But when we live like that, it's really the old going with the flow, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
It's magical. That's what go with the flow is, I think. We always say, let's go with the flow, but that's the co-creative flow or the divine flow.
And also, it's not easy.
No,
as well.
It takes courage.
It takes a lot of courage and faith, because sometimes I experience oh my God, where are we going to be going? What's going on here? So to just surrender to the event is the most challenging thing for me, because I want to plan it, I want to organize it. But she's teaching me not to be attached to that, but just live day by day as much as you can,
Well, and I certainly can be a planner and an organizer. I mean, I definitely have that, but I think it's a balancing act. I think it's a day by day, week by week, moment by moment process of, feeling things out and testing them. But it's definitely, I think, wouldn't you say I think it's a spiritual journey. But the thing, I keep disappearing into the other to the other realms. I think though, the thing to remember that I think that we've learned is that when we're in alignment with each other and with spirit and when we're in sync with what life with the capital L, our higher self, wants us to do, be, and have, it works easily. The magic shows up because we're on the right path. The green, when you drive down the road and it's like green light, green light, green light, it's kind of like that. It's like, oh, we're guided here. Let's do this and let's do that. And we've been very guided and very blessed and extremely grateful, both with each other and with the work that we're individually and collectively doing, because I do spend a lot of my energy also in supporting. You've been doing well with the art, and then Dario is a great advocate of and support of what I do. So I think part of divine conscious partnership and spiritual partnership is we celebrate each other.
Yeah.
There was a question from Aubrey about what is the biggest sign for you that a new path is the right one. And it sounded like you addressed that to a certain degree with things flowing and being easy.
Yeah, Aubrey, I don't think it's one thing. I think the thing that I got taught, I've spent a lot of years, and we both spent many years in Hawaii, and obviously Dario being from Europe, and we've spent time in Europe. But one of the things I learned from a Hawaiian kahuna, which is like a priestess, is you've got to ask out loud, she said. It would be like, Pamela, you and I going to lunch, but me never asking you to go. Pamela, you want to go to lunch? So to actually ask spirit, I mean, we all have guides and angels in that. Okay, give us a sign. What is it that we need to know right now? I've also learned that no answer is an answer, because wouldn't you say there's a timing to everything?
Yeah, you turn around.
Yeah, I'm looking. There's a timing. I think there's a timing to everything too. So it's not just what do we do or how do we. Also, when is the right timing? And sometimes it's act now. Sometimes it's like something will show up in a month and we go, oh, that's why that didn't work out. Luckily, I mean, we're very free. We've chosen to be free, right, Dario? I mean, we have no mortgage, no pets. Neither one of us ever had children. We got rid of most of our things when Dario sold his house. We have a couple of storage units. So our life is set up that we can navigate that way with, I think, greater ease. And we're not really weighed down by kind of brick and mortar business or anything like that. So I want to put that into the mix. What would you say? Yeah.
There was a question from Noelle. Have you ever been to Dannemare, Italy? The art there is crazy good. Took an artist friend there and she just exploded in creativity. Have you ever been there?
Yes.
We spent a night there. We spent a day and a night in It's called Damanhur.
Damanhur?
And they have these sacred temples. I mean, oh my gosh, tell them your experience. We went there many years ago. We drove there. We did this big road trip. Damanhur. I can't remember this one gentleman, Italian artist. It's actually a whole spiritual community there. It's still there, but it's talk about an Edgewalker place. It's unbelievable energy and art there.
Yes.
I can't think of his name.
Yeah, it's connected with the universe and space, and it's like a journey. Another
Oh.
one when you go there, and he created this in the caves, in some form of a caves in hidden places, and finally people start talking about it, and the police came and to try to stop him, and but he showed the whole thing. It was pure creativity, and it was amazing. Art, work of art on the walls, right? It's really
Yeah, it's hard to explain it.
Yeah.
It's an entire area. It's not like a, and then they've got, I think, 7 or 10 temples that that are built into the
That's right.
side of a mountain.
Yes.
You can't even find it. And then they have labyrinths there. Some of the best food I've ever had. I don't know, Italian food. I don't know remember that? I don't know what they infused the food with there, but it was unbelievable. But we actually spent a night there. I have kind of Edgewalker friends that actually bring people there on retreats. But yes, we have been there. Amazing. I recommend.
A note from Noel says that Falco was the founder, and he
That's
passed
it.
away.
Possible.
Thank
Yes.
you, Noel. Yes, we couldn't remember.
Build a
his-
temple for humankind inside a mountain. Yes,
Very good.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah.
that is amazing. Yes. Well, Patricia, let's switch gears a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about where you started and how your spiritual journey and your professional life kind of paralleled into bringing you to this moment where you are a gifted Edgewalker and consultant and facilitator and trainer?
Well, it's interesting because what I do now, when I was younger, like in a million years, I never would have done this because I didn't really have the confidence or the connection with myself to think that I could, my passion is to really speak and inspire and teach and lead and facilitate groups. It hasn't been as easy these days, but I've had a private coaching practice since, oh my God, 20, 30 years, a long, long time I've been doing this. But it just kind of evolved for me. I got out of college and I've always been interested. I've been a seeker my whole life. I've been interested in human psychology and sociology and been on my own personal spiritual journey since I was much younger. And, met Judy Neal. The Edgewalker work came decades later, but I just really resonated with her work. I felt like if there was sort of a word, that could describe me, it would have been that. And I think that my work is very much about integration. I mean, we're human beings on the planet and the third dimensional world and bodies doing our life, but we also each have our own unique, my background, my education in psychology is our human psychology, whatever that is for each of us. But I believe that each one of us is a unique divine being. And I've also met Barbara Marx Hubbard many times on my own journey in Florida with you, Pamela. We were talking about Barbara Marx Hubbard, but just about that we are divine beings and co-creators. So for me, it just kind of evolved out of my own sort of personal journey. And it's like a lot of forks in the road. Rather than going down the dark side, I chose the light and did the work to keep evolving, in that way. And started a WOVA, Women of Vision and Action group. I think I'm a natural born. I know I'm a natural born kind of leader. I start things and lead things, but I feel like I'm here to kind of bring as a bridger between the world and to bring that. And was very much in corporate, Hyatt hotels, network marketing. I have a very strong business background. But I think one of my gifts is I'm able to blend and integrate that with heart and soulfulness, with spiritual awareness and human psychology. So it's kind of like a triangle of, business, because I have a master's in business and leadership, and then the psychological and the spiritual. And it wasn't like I went to school for that. I mean, I went to school for psychology, but that it evolved. And the last thing I would have ever done is what I'm doing now, or gotten in front of a room, like in a million years, and now I get paid for it. So I had a lot of blocks that I had to get over so that I could step into my divine gift and my purpose. And a lot of work I had to do for those out there looking for partners. I had a lot of emotional, psychological, a lot of work I had to do, which number one, help my work, my business and my purpose evolve. But in doing that, I was able to attract Dario. So one of the things on my spiritual journey, and you've known me a long time, Pamela, is that, and Marion and Glenn know me. Some people, my sister on the call, and Karen, and for a long time I wanted a partner, but I had a lot of my own healing work and therapy and lots of things that I had to do to be available to myself and to co-create with my own spirit so that I could attract someone like Dario. And then we could do the work together. And then we could express love and go deeper together. So that's been part of the journey.
Can both of you give us a little more details about some of the work that you did personally that prepared you for this amazing spiritual partnership, and how you uplift and enhance each other so beautifully?
Well, early on in our relationship, I mean, I know you've done lots of therapy. I've done lots of therapy. We each have been doing a lot of our own work, right? Before we met each other, would you say that?
Yeah, I think we met in a time that was right. Maybe even 6 months, a year earlier would not maybe work, because I was not ready for that, you know. And so all my life I struggled with relationship with women, and for some reason it was difficult for me, and so I had to pay a dues. I have to pay my dues about believing in women, which I do, and I love them so much. But it took me a while to finally find the right one. But I never give up being and try to be in a relationship, you know. But yeah, it's just it's, what would you say? It's,
well, one of the things I said, and we were talking about this the other day, I've had difficult challenges with men. By the way, it's a second marriage for both of us. I will mention that we both were married before, but we were both divorced way over 10 years before we met. So though we had other relationships, we had been on our own. But I think that a lot of our relationships in the past, and we've talked about this, have been very karmic. You know, we had a lot of our own karma, a lot of family stuff to burn off, a lot of healing to do. And we're more spiritual partners and life partners. And yes, we're married, but we have a solid foundation. We have what I call our Italian moments. We're both Italian, you know, and so we have our moments. But I think that when we met in the beginning, we did a lot of couples work with couples therapists. So in Maui, we did a lot. We did communication work. We did a lot of healing work that actually wasn't about our karma, it was about what we needed to release from the past so that we could co-create and go on the journey together in a more thriving, conscious way. Would you say that's a way to do it?
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, please add anything else if you think.
You covered pretty much. So it's a path that we have to take. It's been taken, and again, you know, it wasn't easy all the time. It wasn't like a piece of cake. It requires a lot of work, and especially at the beginning, our relationship, to construct a strong foundation. And we both scared, concerned for many things, and so to trust again. I've been hurt 3, 4, 5 times in my life.
Too.
And so we face each other and say, wait a minute, this is a potential stuff here. Let's work on it, because I'm not going to blow this one. You know, so and I'm glad I did what I did, and we did together the work in the beginning that helped us to build the foundation.
We have a lot of the tools. The other thing that's interesting is I think the thing we do the best, we live together well, is travel.
Well, yeah,
but not a lot of couples, not a lot of people can travel well, and that we travel together extremely well, so that we move around. I mean, there's moments, and it could be, you know, stressful and tiring at times, but I do think that, you know, we do well seeing new places we like to explore, and that adds to the kind of nomadic life, I think.
Yeah. Actually, if we don't travel, after a while, be in the same place, it gets a little edgy at times.
Yeah.
Okay, it's time to go on.
It's interesting, right? Like, I want to have created a monster.
I'd be curious to hear a little more, Dario, about how you are able to keep like moving from place to place, and to be able to set up work areas so that you can continue to paint, and, you know, with all the changes and the differences in every place that you go. How do you handle that? And how does that impact your work?
Oh, well, it was a challenge in the beginning, obviously, because I had a studio, a large studio with everything permanent in the studio. Now I'm on the road. And so I had to simplify things around me. And but on the other hand, it's my favor is the fact that by being different location, enhance my creativity in my work. So I get back that kind of a gift. And sometimes it's aggravating, it's frustrating. I agree with you, set up. And then after 2-3 months, take the thing down and ship. And yeah, it is. But I get so much joy, be able to create in a different environment. I'm like a sponge, even indirectly, not directly, but I absorb. And so it is manifest and it shows up in the canvas. So that's the big plus, not being stuck in the same studio for years and years. Well, stuck. Some artists love that, and I did it for 35, 40 years. But now this is a different story. It's a new game. It's a new game. I'm going with the flow and we'll see what happens. But it might stop one day, one day say, okay, we're done. We're done. So let's settle down. And then I'll go for that too, so.
And Patricia, how about you? How does moving and being in different situations affect your work and how you share and support others?
Well, I think that because so much now, particularly with everything that's been going on, I'm more virtual. Almost everything I do, like Zoom or the coaching clients that I do work with are all over the world. I work on the phone. So I think it doesn't really, in fact, like logistically or physically, it's not a problem. And I think that because I've been moving around, I've met people in so many places, it's actually expanded my business just by building my network. So in that regard, and I think in different places, like we lived in Sedona last year for 2 months and I did a mastery course there. And I was inspired to start that because I was in Sedona. The Hawaiian Islands are my spiritual heart home. So when I come here, I'm very intuitive and I'm able to kind of access my intuition and things maybe differently when I'm here, just by being in the energies here, it's quite different. So I'm a very visual person like Dario, but he's a visual artist. So I love looking out the window. I'm a big nature person and being in all these beautiful places. I feel so grateful and so blessed. So that is, all those landscapes and seascapes and everything is really a gift. It's really a gift. We're very fortunate.
And also because of our lifestyle, we're gathering more friends internationally. She has a huge list of people that love to death and wonderful, but my God, it's more than me, but it's amazing. Every place we go, we get invited on top of that. It's been incredible.
Yeah, what's interesting about the nomadic journey, some of it's about I have a wonderful family back in Connecticut and New York that we spend a lot of time there at a family home and we're grateful for that. And Dario's family's in Rome. So we connect with our families a lot, but a lot of times the contribution is to friends. So we're helping them, they're helping us. Whether it's in Naples, Florida or in Hawaii or Colorado or a lot of places we go, there's like this mutual exchange that goes on. So it's not just, we're renting a place, but we're also helping out friends and they're helping us out. So that's why I love the co-creation it's a convergence. It truly is of the energies in so many different ways.
And the world is becoming for us smaller and smaller because we travel so much. By the way, we've been there. Oh yeah, we've been there. So what's next? It's getting smaller and smaller. We're gonna have to find another planet.
Okay.
To go visit.
Who knows? It could happen. It's
Yes. Well, I was going to ask Dario if he wanted to share a little bit about his background and how he met Salvador Dali.
Okay, Salvador Dali. Okay, it was obviously, it looks like to me it was an accident, but I guess it wasn't because I didn't plan to visit him in his house in Spain, but I was traveling in Spain with another artist, and we just happened to stop in Cadaqués, which is this village, fisherman village, and I didn't know that Salvador Dali lived in that area. And I was visiting, likely I had pictures of my painting with me, and in these days I was painting more surrealism. And of course I knew who Salvador Dali was, but I have no idea that he was right there. And so to the point when I was showing my book of my work to some artists in this cafe store, in a coffee shop, and this man saw my painting and he said, "Oh my God, you got to show this to Salvador." And I didn't understand what he meant. I mean, excuse me? Yeah, Salvador Dali is 10 minutes from here. I'm his accountant. So, you know, so I work for him, and you should show this. And I said, how? Well, give me the book. I'll show it to him and I'll give it to you tomorrow. I'll let you know. So I trusted him, my precious book. I give it to the stranger in Spain saying that he's a Salvador Dali CPA. I don't know if this is lying to me or not. So, but I trusted him, thank God. So the next day, he came back to the cafe without my book, and I was freaking out. So where's my book? I forget about Salvador Dali. Where's my book? I mean, without that book, that was my work. And he looked at me, pissed off at me, and said, "What do you mean, where's your book? He has it. Salvador is waiting for you. I have an appointment tomorrow at 5 o'clock in his house. He's waiting for you." I said, "Whoa." Yeah. Well, that was amazing. So the next day I knocked at the door, and the butler opened the door and asked him to follow. And he is with his wife in the garden in his house. By the way, just a year and a half ago,
No, we went there. We went there 3 years ago.
Yeah,
It was about 3 years ago.
and it became a museum. His house became a museum. And 3 years ago, we were there visiting, and everything I saw in the house was exactly the same in 1973 when I visited Salvador Dali. The studio, the easel, the studio, and everything. It was fascinating, and there were tourists in the house, and I was part of the tourists checking this house. And I keep saying I was right there, and he was right there, and we spent 2 days together. And people thought, "Are you telling us that you were here in the 70s and you met Salvador Dali?" Yes, I was here. I was invited. They couldn't believe this. They would say, "Oh my God, they want to have an autograph from me," something like that.
But that's like, talk about being in the right place at the right time. And that's a divine orchestrated synchronicity.
Yeah.
You happen to be there with the accountant who happened to see your work, and he's been a big influence on your art.
Yeah, beside meeting him, he's a star. He was a star. He was amazing, famous in the 70s. It was the peak of his career. And when I met him, I had technical questions about painting. And so the first day I met him, it was a social with the other people there. But then I asked him to come back in the following weekend, and I spent all day Sunday with him, me and him, and he was creating a sculpture when I saw him on Sunday. And we talked for hours about techniques, and he answered a lot of my questions, which still today I use his advice about technically. So I learned so much. And but the funny thing is, when he saw me for the first time, arriving in his house, and he said to me, "Oh, here's the Roman master," and he hugged me. He called me the Roman master, and I was 23 years old.
You are the Roman master.
I was the Roman master.
He was right.
He was pulling my leg, I guess. But anyway, he was an experience, Salvador Dali, because I thought he was a little crazy, but I find out he wasn't. He was a very logical, wonderful human being. Actually, his wife, Gala, was a little eccentric, but not him. And all this crazy thing he did is to create publicity, to create momentum. It was all orchestrated, by PR, believe it or not. So, but he was just like me. He was an artist. So he did invite me to visit him in New York the following winter, but the security was so strong. I was in California. I tried to get in I couldn't get even phone call. I couldn't go through the screen. He was too famous. I couldn't go back to see him, but he did invite me. But anyway, it was an experience.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Patricia, is there anything else that you'd like to tell us about your life experiences and maybe pivotal moments in your life where all of a sudden everything shifted for you? Anything that happened to move you on to a more spiritual path or to become more of an Edgewalker?
Yeah, I think what comes to me, Pamela, and you might remember this, I was living in Naples, Florida, and I felt really stuck in my life. And this was in 2004 or 3, something like that. And I kept asking for a sign. I asked for a sign during a Scorpio eclipse. This is pretty powerful, which is my sign, is Scorpio. And the next day I went and did a training. I was in Southwest Florida. And the next day when I was on my training, I lost everything in a fire. So in 24 hours, I lost everything in a fire. Literally everything got burned up. And there was a few years when I was living in Naples where I was kind of renting, and I kept feeling like I was complete there, like I needed to do something to shift my life. So I kept asking for signs, and it kept coming to me without getting into all of them, whether it's books or people would mention it, or I'd see a bumper sticker, but Hawaii, 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 Hawaii. And it was kind of like, so finally, June 1st, 2007, I took 2 suitcases and flew to the big island of Hawaii, not Oahu, but the big island. And my life has never been the same since then. It was kind of like my Eat, Pray, Love. That was 2007, and I met Dario in 2012. And one of the things that happened there was I went there to swim with dolphins in the wild. I love dolphins. And I had this really profound experience of swimming with one other woman off Kona with about 50 dolphins. And it literally was like an initiation. I felt like it totally changed my energy. I mean, I couldn't do anything for days. And after that moment, I met this entire spiritual community on the big island of Hawaii, and came over here to Kauai and then Maui. And then my whole life changed. I mean, but it literally was that I knew I needed to do something different because I felt stuck. And it took me out here to the islands. And this is where I've done a lot of my spiritual work. I always say I'm a, reforming type A New Yorker, that kind of unraveling of that doing and that kind of energy. So, but it was like a lot of leaps of faith, a lot of bridging the worlds and just saying, okay, I know I have to do something, but I don't know what to do. So show me. And I got Hawaii. I didn't know anybody out here. It led me to Dario. I had some other relationships before him. So I think that recognizing that I didn't want to stay complacent, I knew that my soul wanted to grow. I knew I had more work to do and to contribute in the planet. And realizing I wanted a partner, but I also know that we can't give what we don't have. And I knew that I wasn't living and deepening into my full potential. So my journey came from my inquiry and my searching and my seeking. I've been like that since I was young, and using every experience to my best of my abilities. And believe me, this is not an easy journey. It gets easier, but it's not when you're in it. It's kind of grist for the mill, like being a coal and being rubbed here, or being a diamond in the rough. So it's been sort of like, and then life has sort of become like a magic carpet ride, meeting Dario and connecting with different communities. But it's like, be careful what you ask for. When you ask for like, okay, I want to be free of this, or I feel stuck, or why am I not seeing it? It's very, very humbling. But it's like the great undoing. It's an unraveling of to coming more to your authentic true self. And that's what the journey's been like for me. So once I stepped into the Hawaiian Islands, I think, meeting Dario has been huge for me. I mean, our life, both of us, has changed, for 10 years, and our commitment and our co-creation, and my God, all the challenges and the obstacles and the struggles, and were so worth it, weren't they, for us to get to this point and have the quality and quantity of life that we have. And I really feel it's an evolutionary times we're in, and I feel, if I could say this, that each of us individually, maybe you as a person and an artist, and me as an individual and an edge worker, but even as a couple, we're evolving. So we keep being asked to go into the unknown, right? I think a lot of us now are going into lots of unknowns every day. You know, we don't know what's coming. So using all of the experience that we've had spiritually and otherwise to say, okay, you know, I don't really know what's coming next, but it's working so far. But it takes courage, right? I think we would all agree with that, right? It
Oh,
takes courage and patience. Oh my God, patience and faith. It's a muscle. Faith is a muscle. You know, courage is a muscle. You got to work it to work, right? So I don't know if that answers your question, Pamela, but that's what popped in first for me.
Sure. Sheila asked, what would you say were the most impactful practices and programs or work that helped you to clear or open yourselves up to partnership? Were there any specific practices or things like that you?
Yeah, I'll let Dario ask for him. I did NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. I have one of my closest friends and at the time, her partner. I met Dario, by the way, 4 months after I did this work. She said, you need to do some NLP. You've got your programming all backwards around what you feel relationship is. So she had me make a list of what I want, the top 10 things for partnership. And when I had to do 2 days instead of one, they're like, you've got all your programming tweaked around because of what my belief and my history was around relationship. My parents divorced. It's not anybody's fault, but I had it kind of tweaked around. And then the NLP, after 2 days, I met Dario 4 months later, and I was living in Maui at a friend's house. And she also did some healing heart work on me. My friend Linda, who happens to be Linda Green. Hi, Linda in Maui. So it was like a combination of things. She did some heart healing, some energy work on me. And I met Dario already, but I had this huge release and this big shift. So it was like the NLP kind of did a neuro-linguistic reframing, like my computer needed to be uploaded, you know, a new program. And then Linda did a lot of the heart work. And then I met Dario April 6th, and that all happened, like those two things happened within a 4-month period to get ready for Dario. But how about you? Well, you were in therapy when I met you, right? How about you? Anything that you want to?
Yeah, I was coming from a relationship was very, very toxic and challenging. And so finally ended after 5 years. And so I was in trouble a little bit. I was down because I didn't know, I was lost. I was confused. And so I had to go back to therapy again, which helped me a lot. Actually, what really helped me is my sister, because she came from Rome to visit me in Maui, all the way to Maui, because she felt that something was wrong with me. And she was right. I was very depressed and I lost weight. And usually when I lose weight, it means something's going on. It's not right. So she came over and visited, and she helped me to overcome these things, and little by little. And then 6 months later, I met Patricia. So perfectly, actually, it was a little soon for me, to be honest with you. I wasn't ready to be alone for at least another year, 2 years maybe. But 6 months later, she appears in my horizon. So I had to grab it and work on it about it. And I had to do a little catch up work on myself quickly, so we can together be flourishing together. You know, so I realized that. Yeah.
But wouldn't you say, you know, what I know from what Dario shared with me is that part of the purpose of my coming sooner is you needed a contrast. Did that?
Well,
that was part of
the
what
lesson.
It was.
The lesson that I learned is that when I saw the difference, what kind of person Patricia she is, and comparing to the other person that was, it taught me to really much appreciate who she is. Maybe a year, 2 years earlier, 3 years, I would not pay attention as much because I was in a situation where I was raw and I was sensitive. And so when she appears, I felt this really wonderful connection, solid, and I felt protected and supported 100%. And no drama. That's That's the other thing. Yeah, but I guess because we both Italian background, and so we share a lot of the same mentality, being Italian, with the good and the bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, sometimes the bad is we screaming at each other and try to make a point, which is, you know, but it's an Italian thing, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But we have shared values. We have very strong values. We're very similar.
Yeah.
What we love, our family values, what we believe in, what we care about. It's a foundation. I mean, Pamela, you've been married a long time, and there were some married couples on that we know. It takes, you know, there's some solid things you want to have, you know, to create sustainable relationship. And I think our relationship is also different and deeper than what we've had before with other people, right?
Yes, evolution. This was an evolution. Yeah.
But it's a different type of relationship than what we've had before.
I think what you're saying is that together you are definitely bigger and better and more awesome for having the support and the connection that you have. And I know I found that in my marriage, and that's amazing.
Yes.
Well, that's divine complement. The whole
It
is
is.
greater than the sum of the parts. You know, when in coming together, there's an enhancement. And I think what we both had before was we were, not that those relationships didn't have their purpose, and not to even make those people wrong. It was part of a journey, but there's an enhancement and a deepening and an expansion and a love that we have that keeps growing, right? It keeps growing. And as we do the work together, we become more intimate, we become more authentic, we even become, in many ways, more successful. Like life supports us. It really does. We're very blessed, wouldn't you say? Yeah, life is, we feel very abundant and very fortunate.
Grateful.
And grateful. But we've worked, you know, it's not just some random thing, you know, we worked to get to this point, but we never take it for granted, and we never take each other for granted. No. It's also, there's a book by oh my God, what is his name? The 5 A's, not David Data, Terry Real, I'm trying to remember. The 5 A's, it's called How to Be Adult in Relationships. And the 5 A's are acceptance, allowing, appreciation, attention, and affection. So we'll refer to those sometimes. Those will support a relationship, but it's also important to give them to yourself so you can give them to your partner and receive them from your partner. It's a giving and a receiving. Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, I thought I would invite everybody that is interested to turn on their videos and join us for some questions. And you can raise your hands if you wish, and we'll try to bring people in. Hi, everybody. So if you have a question, you can raise your hand on the screen, and then we'll have you turn off your mic. Noelle, your mic's off. Did you have a question, or would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, I do have a question. It was in the chat there earlier. You know, you all downloaded a lot of materialism. And I'm wondering if the getting rid of the materialism was also like on the physical level, what you were doing on a, you know, spiritual level, getting rid of a lot of debris from previous relationships. And you described yourself as minimalist. And I'm wondering that there's some magic in being a minimalist and getting rid of just an idea.
You speak to that about your homes. You got rid of all your houses too.
Well, I learned that the more stuff I had, the more my life was complicated. I realized over the years, I had 2 homes, I had 2 cars, everything double, because I used to live 6 months in Marin County in San Francisco, 6 months in Maui. And I was consistently worried and owned by my property, you know, and I felt that I was stuck, basically spending my time taking care of my stuff, which I can't take with me anyway. And it's something that keeps me really complicated and busy in this life, and our life is so quick, it's so short. So I realized that, wait a minute, this is not working. This is why I ask for a partner to do this journey together, where we get rid of the stuff. We collect way too much stuff, you know. So I realized that the heaviness on my shoulder was gone when I sold my house, my car, and everything else. So it has a price. I'm not saying it's a free ride. It does have a price. But for us, it works. It works overall. Because I have a tendency to worry about stuff too much. So the more simplify around me, the more happy I am, you know. And that's, I don't know if I answer your question.
And if I could just add to that, Dario, when I was living, he had a beautiful home in Maui. And when I was living there with him, the longer we were there, the property needed irrigation and the pool and the this and the that. He's in his studio trying to paint, and he's talking to the gardener, talking to this guy. And I could see it was actually taking away from his creative process, and it was taking the joy out of your life. You actually wasn't enjoying the home at that point. So
Well, that was
years later.
Yeah, but that was my experience. But it's not everybody experienced the same way. You can be a happy person with a bunch of stuff around you. Actually, makes them even more happier having 3 cars and this and that. But you know, it depends on the people. You know,
Right.
So,
Any other questions from the group?
Yes, feel free to jump in here. And I see we have, who's the dolphin swimmer here? Somebody went swimming with the dolphins earlier today. Linda
Yes.
Green.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Tell us about that. Take your mic off and tell us about that. Thank you.
Oh, it you know, I go almost every day looking for them. And Patricia was living with me back in 2012. I don't know if she went swimming with the dolphins with me back then, but I hope so. And but anyway, I went looking for the last 6 months, and today was the first time I got to swim with them since April.
Oh, wow.
It
congratulations.
was very magical, and I think it's because of you guys. They
I
came
love
in
it,
for,
Linda.
isn't that great? They came in for you guys. It was very special.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. We'll see you soon on Maui.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
Good to see you guys.
you too. Thank you for sharing that.
We'll go out with the dolphins.
Okay, sounds
And the
good.
whales.
Oh, yeah, the
I
whale.
want to jump here also. Linda, you say you are a heart instructor with Programs of the Heart. Patricia worked on this with the founder of Programs of the Heart, Diana Vela. Now, I think you put that when someone asked about what kind of programs. What does a heart instructor do?
Well, she just mentioned it a little bit briefly, so I was just trying to give more background. I worked with Diana Vela in Programs of the Heart since 1998. And it's since been retired, but the work is amazing. I was studying to be a therapist at Naropa in Boulder for 5 years, and I was retired mechanical engineer. And it's just been an amazing journey working with people. It really helps people free themselves of burdens from the past and relationship, and just living so they can live as their eternal presence, as their soul, and just be their natural state of love. So I'm carrying the torch forward. My new title is just like a love educator. And I do Facebook Lives. I've got one coming on in about a half an hour on Facebook, where I do prayers for people that have passed and that need help. And then, you know, individual coaching and courses and things on love. But I just always like to acknowledge Diana Vela, because I know Patricia did work with her. Yeah. And it's, you know, it was a real pleasure and privilege to be able to do any kind of work directly with her during that time frame. So
thank you, Linda. Thanks for sharing that.
Linda.
Noelle, you had your hand up. Did you want to unmute? There you are. Hi.
I hate to hit you up for the 5 A's again, but I am in an earlier stage of finding that enhancement partner, clearing out my debris. It's coming along very well. Thank you very much. But
I'll type them in, Patricia, if you say them again, the 5 A's.
It comes from a book. I'm really having a blank on the author, but the book is called How to Be an Adult in Relationships. Maybe somebody else knows what it is, but it's acceptance, allowing, appreciation, attention, and affection.
Thank you very much.
And he talks about the 3 things that will kill a relationship are control, anger, and expectations.
Okay, I missed one there. I have acceptance, allowing,
I
appreciation.
got it on there.
Appreciation, attention, and affection.
Okay.
Some are easier than others. We find acceptance and allowing sometimes a little more challenging than attention, affection, and appreciation. Kind of depends on the moment, but you get to practice.
Alia, did you have a question or a comment?
Yes, well,
Thank
we
you,
did,
thank you.
we did something with Terry Real. And
Oh,
that
Terry
sounds,
Real, that's
yeah,
right,
it sounds so much
yeah.
like him.
Yeah, I think
I'm
that's who
pretty
it
sure
is.
that is who it is. Yeah. Yeah, he's wonderful.
Yeah,
He's
he's
got
great.
some, right on.
Any other comments? Certainly, we are so thrilled to have gained a little more insight into your lives and into your creative process and how you came together. I mean, it's just almost a fairy tale, but it's a true one. And it's just delightful that you have such a wonderful spiritual partnership. That is, it's a blessing for all of us to see and to know.
Yeah, we realize, and especially the last couple of years, but in general, how we know how fortunate we are. We feel really blessed, really, and we're so honored to be with all of you today. And thank you for your presence and for allowing us to share our journey, right, and our work together and individually. And yeah, thank you, and Pamela. Thank you for having us on and
My
invite
pleasure, dear friends. I
friends,
look forward
yeah.
to seeing you when you're back in Naples for
Yeah,
sure.
we'll be there in February. So
Good,
Awesome.
good.
We just remembered that we did meet you, Patricia, in Naples.
did.
That's
Yeah.
right. Oh, okay.
It was in Naples. Wait
Yes.
a minute. Wasn't it with Mary and Glenn?
Yes.
Yeah, we did. Mary and Glenn. Oh my gosh, I love this. How we
Yes,
we all keep finding each other. I didn't know if it was Hawaii. We met each other in Florida. It was in Florida. That's
I'm not sure if you were with Dario then. I guess you were. I guess you would have been.
yeah. We've been together 10 years. Yeah, we
Yeah.
were. It might have been Fort Lauderdale, but one of our places we all, Mary and Glenn, are our spiritual nomadic friends too. So yeah, we.
Oh, no, they quit.
I know.
Well, this has been wonderful.
Marion, did you want to say
Yeah.
something?
Oh, I just think there's so much magic in their lives, and I'm so happy to be part of what got magnetized. I just love the way Patricia and I met, and there's probably other stories here among those of you who are here, but a mutual friend of Patricia's and mine from Boulder said, "Oh, you're going to Kauai? My friend Patricia's there. You need to meet her while you're there." And so we were coming to visit then. That was before we lived here. The whole time went by, and it was tomorrow we were leaving. And I said, I never did call that woman Patricia. So I called her, and somehow we got together. She started telling me about herself, and it sounded so familiar. I said, "Do you know Eleanor LaCain?" She said, "Yes." And it was like we had been on a mastermind group for a mutual friend of ours who had started a nonprofit for a year on telephone calls. And her resume is so unique, Patricia's, that it was like, I know you. Where do we know each other from? So we were meant to know each other.
And there was no FaceTime or Zoom then, so we were on this call, and her name was sort of familiar, but we connected the dots, and we've been friends ever since then. And she and Glenn and Dario, and how many different places have we all been together? We keep interacting between Colorado and Florida and Kauai and Maui, and yeah, so I love the magic, and it continues. You just have to get on that. You got to get on the carpet. You have to get on the magic carpet and co-create with spirit. You got to intend it, ask it, be available, be committed, and life will take care of you. The universe handles the details.
And speaking of asking for it, so Patricia was sitting right here where I am right now.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we had been really professional friends. We met in a professional arena. We had a lot of respect for each other professionally, and we hadn't gotten really personal yet. And on this particular day, I said, "So Patricia, of all the many projects you're involved with, what are you enjoying the most? And she said, I don't want to talk about work. I'm ready for a relationship. I was like, oh, okay. Well, her next stop was Maui at that wedding she told you about when we started.
And I met Dario. I was on Kauai. In fact, 2 or 3 friends here said, I think you're going to meet somebody. But I remember having breakfast or lunch with you and Glenn, and I was on my way to Maui for a wedding. And I think a couple days later, I met Dario. So it's all timing, right?
But you also asked.
I asked, but I was ready. I had a lot of work to do to get this person ready. And
I don't know that you asked. I think I remember that you pretty much declared and demanded. It's like, get your ass in here, guys, and set this thing up. Let's go. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, don't hide the secret sauce, Patricia.
Right, exactly. But I have to tell you something, and my mother said this to me. And he's perfectly exactly what I need. But the last thing I ever would have done was have been with an Italian artist, not my picture, not my idea of a partner. In fact, my mother said, you need to get rid of your picture frame. You have this idea in your head. This was the NLP work of who and how, of who you're supposed to be. You need to get rid of it. And my mother was ecstatic that I met an Italian-born, a man in Maui. She says, I told you, you need to stop dating that same kind of guy. You need somebody like, so I really had this idea of the kind of person, and an artist and an Italian was not, even though I'm Italian, that just was not like kind of on my radar of my type. So no more types, Spirit had a very different idea. You've never been with the East Coaster. I'm in New York. I mean, he's never been with anybody. So we're very different from the type of relationships we had before, but we had to be open to a different type. So.
Thank you so much. We really are thrilled that you were with us and to
Absolutely.
Share with us and just to give us a little more insight that is just so special. And so hopefully we'll see you again, and certainly we'll see you in Naples, but on the Co-Creators Convergence. And I know Noelle probably would like to share what's up for next week.
Bum. Yes, I'm going to turn it over to Noelle, because she is our guest next week. And I'm so excited to learn about the piecework, Noelle, that you do. And do you want to unmute and just give us a little preview of what we might expect next week? Everyone's invited back. We're always here every Thursday. Wonderful conversations. I turn it over to you, Noelle.
Thank you very much. I think it's so funny that a Noelle called me Nicole, because Nicole, that's my other name. Everybody calls me Nicole. And I was like, how did she do that?
I'm ashamed I did that, Noelle.
That's all right. I think it's a lovely name. It's just funny to me. I've asked Noelle's or Nicole's, does anyone ever call you Noelle? They said, no, never. Don't know what that is. But anyway, piecework was my little salvation path when I had been diagnosed with many, many horrible things, including schizophrenia, manic depression, chronic depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, blah, 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 more than that. And I was in and out of hospitals for a stint in my earlier years. And I did a volunteer process in the prison called Alternatives to Violence Project. And it started after the Attica uprising, and it's been spread since 1975 to 65 countries. It's made inroads. It's not formally in those now, but I can guarantee if anybody experienced it anywhere, somebody's doing something with it, because it really is engaging. It's kind of addictive, at least for me. And I have been doing the volunteer work in prison for it'll be 30 years next year. And I realized that people in the mental health world needed to have a taste of this stuff, because it was in 3 days, I got more benefit than the 30 odd years, because my first diagnosis, I was 6 years old. It was called emotionally disturbed, which is the only one that I think was accurate, frankly. But in any case, it is an engaging group format. It's a model. It was created at the instigation of the people who had lived through Attica uprising, and Quakers were invited in, who in turn invited civil rights leaders, and they just built this thing, borrowing from everywhere, Gestalt therapy and anything. It was the 70s, so it had all that personal, what's that thing called, the movement where you're, that stuff, all that human potential movement stuff, and exercises that some of you will have been through already, brand new stuff. I make up stuff weekly. Everything I do is just kind of in the flow. What do I need in this moment to, get this thing accomplished? And I had been doing it in the mental health realm for a long time, but I'm realizing I want to get it to my peeps who are really edge walkers, the people that are out there doing stuff, because I feel like it could enhance every training that anybody's doing. It could enhance social activities of any sort. It can also be used to, if you've got any particular place that you want to do personal work, you can invite people into a process and explore that thing with them, doing various exercises and just learning from each other. There's just endless uses for this. And even if you just borrow pieces of it, and I will just say for all you, my website is heartcircleconsulting.com, and there's a free toolkit that was written for people in the mental health realm, but it's got the whole 110 pages of the whole ideas and how you might utilize them, in there. So if anybody's interested, they're not coming next week, you could still have that. It's free. Just,
Don't tell them anymore. They got to come next week.
you got to come next week. And I'm so apologetic that I didn't co-host. I forgot that I was supposed to. I thought, oh, she made a mistake. So anytime you want me to co-host, I'm happy to. I said, no, she can't want that. So I'm sorry I didn't do that. Anyway, I'm past the time, so I will be quiet. But next week I'll talk a lot, except it's very, very engaging. I'm not going to want to just be talked to. We have to experience the process together, or you will not get the magic.
Sounds like a date.
Wonderful.
Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, Patricia, Pamela,
Love.
Patricia,
Aloha.
Dario, everyone that
Thank
came.
you.
Love
See
you
you
all.
tomorrow, Bye, everybody.
Love
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Wonderful.
Thank
you.
you.
Bye,
Blessings.
Noel,
Love you
Bob.
guys.